Hello, listeners to the Third Way podcast. Welcome to another Third Way episode. I don't generally get too far in the podcast into what I do for a living, ironically. Maybe I should, because I've had a huge increase in followers over the last couple of months. And so part of the reason I don't do that is because it's not that I don't think it's interesting. It's just that I don't ever want to come across as pitchy. But anyway, so for context, I am the co-founder of a company called Massive Change. We do executive coaching, leadership development, and brand strategy for social impact brands and individuals. And so for 20 years, I've been a brand coach. And for 20 years, I've been trying to solve the studio model of how to deliver some tactical services to our clients, my clients over the years. And through serendipity in many ways, I was introduced to our guest today, Javiera Corea, who is from Nicaragua, and Javiera is going to give her background in just a moment. But I actually met Javiera through Virginia, Javiera was doing all of Virginia's social media promotion and podcast editing and everything. And she has now become one of my top, feels like we're the same team sometimes. And I just think that Javiera is such an interesting person with a compelling story, a kind soul, brilliant mind, all the kinds of things. But today we are going to talk about marketing shit. So get your pen and paper if you want to learn some things. So hi, Javiera, welcome.
Hi, Justin. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome.
Very, very excited about this.
Yes, it's awesome to have you. We have this interesting virtual relationship because I think we've met one time when you and your husband were in New Jersey with your kids. And I think that was the first time you'd met Virginia in person too, right?
Yeah, I've worked with her like 3 years in a row before that. It's life.
That's life right now. Yeah. So talk a little bit about your background. Where are you from? What were you doing before this? Just go.
Okay, well, I'm Nicaraguan, as you said, born and raised in Nicaragua.
Mm-hmm.
I've been living here the last 5 years. Before that, I lived in Costa Rica for a while. But I think the most interesting thing about my background is that now I'm working in marketing, but I was a corporate lawyer like 3 years ago for almost 12 years. I know that that's a lot of time, but I start very young. In Nicaragua, you have to pick your career when you are 16, basically, because you start college at 17. So it's a big deal picking like a major life decision when you are so young. And I decided to become a lawyer. And I never regret it, to be honest. I wanted to take a path in my life when I could help people to solve their problems. I was used to do that all the time. So it was something that made sense to me at the time and still making sense. But, life take you to different paths and you make changes that you never expected. So after almost 12 years working in corporate law, I decided to take an MBA because I thought it was a good decision at the time for my professional career, following the corporate thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there I fall in love twice. I fall in love with marketing, something that I never expected. And I fall in love with my husband because I met him around the same time.
So I didn't know that.
Yes. Fun facts, right? And so at that time, I realized that marketing was another way to also solve problems, but in a very different way. I was always curious about how to explode my creativity. Mm-hmm. I actually went to study arts for a while after the law school. It didn't work for me at all. But it was a nice try to explore this part of me that was more creative, more sensitive to the problems of everybody else and my own emotions. So when I found out the marketing was a good way to mix strategy, critical thinking, that is the things that I think are my strengths, and creativity, I was like, hey, maybe I could do this, make this my life, my new life decision and new life choice and do my job. And I start after the MBA. When I finished the MBA, the COVID came up, so everybody was like, now what I'm going to do? I just finished a full-time MBA. So you quit your job, you quit everything, you go to the program, and you have to start figuring out what to do after that. So at that point, I was like, well, this is the right moment to try marketing. So I'm going to go everything that I learned, all my knowledge and experience and strategy that I developed when I was a corporate lawyer, and I just gonna put it in motion. So that's why and how I started this new idea that was Motion Rocket. At that time, didn't have a name. At that time, it was just me putting all my knowledge in to work, in something useful at the time. And trying to see if I can get some money for that, because I was totally broke after the MBA. So I was like, okay, this is it. I'll try this. And after many experiments and working with beautiful people that I met in the MBA from everywhere in Latin America, we start some projects that went very well. So I was like, I like it and I'm good at it. So this is going well. And then some friends get me some referrals. Then I met Virginia and started working with her as a client. She was one of my real clients. And everything after that just went moving slowly to put me in this career path. So since I think it was 3 years ago when I decided no going back to corporate law ever, and just take it full time, marketing role full time for me. And that's how Motion Rocket was born, basically 3 years ago. Wow. Just recently we started with the name and the brand image, but that's how everything came out, basically.
Yeah, it's fascinating on multiple levels, because one of the things that I've learned about Latin American culture, at least certainly Mexico and Central America, at least, is the veneration of education. And it's funny because in the United States, having the degree, having the credentials is more venerated than the process of getting them. But the process of learning, the desire for learning, is very much resonates with me, because I don't have a college degree, but I am very autodidactic and I know a lot of things about a lot of things. And it's a different mindset. And then you apply that also to law, which is, obviously kind of its own complex adaptive system, the way that it's structured, the way it helps you understand and see things. It's like similar to the way like accounting helps you understand numbers differently. Law helps you understand like systems differently. And so there's an interesting, and the reason I wanted to have you on, other than you're interesting, is that there's an interesting problem that small business owners have. And I actually have three problems. And I want to break it down this way. Number one is most of them don't know what the hell they're doing when it comes to marketing.
Yeah.
And there's a subset to that, which is why I have an offering called Branding for Misfits that I'll link to, which is if you're a person that feels like a misfit, that comes from a background of where you just feel like you don't fit in, marketing is extra icky. And there's this great gap between being a super interesting person and really sucking at marketing because of that, the ick factor that people have about it. So there's that. The second thing is there's a shit ton of bad advice. I've often said over the years, as my number one competitor is just bad advice about what marketing should be. And partially it's because most people see, especially small business owners, who is your core audience, they see marketing as a set of tasks as opposed to being a system. Marketing is a system that has moving parts that should be iterative according to the results and your values, essentially. So that's number two, is it's not a set of tasks. And number three is that it changes every damn day. Like as far as like what you need to focus on, and there's the algorithm, and then there's this changes, and then Google changes their search thing, and then a new platform like Blue Sky or Substack comes along, and it's a lot. And most small business owners don't get into business because they like marketing. They get into business because they like what they do, that is their talent or skill or the thing they're bringing to the table. So I do all of that as a big setup to talk about this category that you have created called a virtual marketing team, or a VMT. And I would love to have you share a little bit about what it is. And I want to share with the audience why, in my background as being a fractional CMO and a brand strategy guy and owning ad agencies, why it's radically different. But share a little bit about what it is, what a VMT is.
Well, like another small business owner, at the beginning, because before the MBA, I also started a business, not knowing anything about business, not knowing anything about marketing. So I know the feeling of feeling like in a strange land. I'm trying to see what is the solution to all my problems.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a small business owner, you don't have to love marketing, but you have to be passionate about what you do. That's the only thing that you need to do. The VMT, or virtual marketing team, it's a new concept that set us apart from a marketing agency and also from freelancing, because a marketing agency has like their own system design to bring it into your company. So you have to adapt your company process, your value proposition to what a marketing agency has to offer to you. But the virtual marketing team, we adapt to our business clients' system. We try to create a new system for every client, and we bring our team as a part of your business or your company. So we work with you let's say that you are one of my clients. So I'll bring my team to work with you if you are my boss. You are my boss, I'm your marketing director, and my team is part of your company. So what it changed is that we are part of your team and we are emotionally investing our work in your business success. So if your business has success because my work is actually bringing positive impact to your company, it's also my win. I'm part of that. That's why we don't work for many clients. We are not a marketing agency. We pick the people that we work with because we need to be aligned to your values as a company to actually be part of that. Because if I don't believe in what you sell, of what you are doing, it won't work at all. Whatever I do is just gonna be task or just deliveries, and I won't be interested in if that success or not out there. That's why a virtual marketing team has to be a good fit in your company values. It's not only bringing marketing efforts to your company; it's bringing a team of people that believes in what you do, basically.
Yeah. And it's I like how you framed it, that, a lot of small business owners end up using freelancers, or they have a person on their team that sort of is like a marketing coordinator, and then when they need things done, like the website updated, they go get somebody. And I've always looked at it that one of the huge flaws in that is that there's no coherent strategy, and there's no, there's nothing. And so that's how I built my career, on the strategy side of being essentially if not directly a CMO, but thinking like a CMO. And I used to be co-owner of two different agencies. One, we got up to like 21 people, and we did all the things, and it was mostly a pain in the ass, honestly, from the inside, because this is one of the things I've noticed about agencies over the years, marketing agencies, ad agencies, digital agencies, now kind of all the same thing, is you end up convincing the client that you need something that you do because you have payroll to make. And I'm not saying it's always that nefarious, but it certainly is a bias. And I've seen that, like, if you are more of a creative agency, everybody needs a new logo. Maybe they don't. Yeah. Or if you're more digital or tech, on the tech martech side, everybody needs a new website and an app or whatever. And I think that sort of agnostic approach to tactics is really essential. But I think the key, like, it would be one thing to say, okay, we're going to bring together, say, let's break it down virtual. Great. That's going to save time, costs. It's going to be more flexible, speed, things like that. It's also nearshoring, because most of the people you bring in are from Central America, if they're in Nicaragua. That's great. Then there's marketing. That's the set of tasks that you talked about. The team part is like you can't be on someone's team if you don't have shared values. Because I've seen you do this with our clients that we work on together is you're, like you said, emotionally invested in them because you have a similar belief. You want them to be successful. And that's an entirely different motivation than an agency has or a freelancer has.
Exactly.
And I think for a long time, I used to do this where they had to have, if I worked with somebody, they had to have their own like marketing person already because I just didn't like the process of like, any of that stuff. But with a virtual marketing team, I can do what I do as the CMO and then work with you. And it really is this comprehensive team. So I don't know. It's maybe we're just marketing nerds, but it is way different than most people realize. So when we talk about, I think there's another aspect to this too. If we were to do it like the classic Venn diagram, there's strategy, which is all the messaging, the marketing tactics and execution. There's the stuff you do, but there is also this thing around integration. And so share a little bit about your kind of paradigm around the integration of all the various pieces and parts of marketing. And we both know this is a problem for clients, but this is a thing that they or small business owners, but they may not even know it's a problem because it's painful and right in front of them, but they don't know how to diagnose it. So talk a little bit about integration.
As you said at the beginning, and maybe because we're marketing nerds about this, marketing is an ecosystem. It can be just a list of to-dos and the day. And when you finish that, it's over. It doesn't work like that. So when you are a solopreneur or you're a small business owner, the financial decision or the best financial decision that you made at the beginning is just buy some marketing tools that are available there everywhere. You have a marketing tool for everything. Every day is something new. And they're awesome. Most of them are awesome and helps you a little. Maybe you think they're going to change your life and you're just going to let all the things these apps doing your work for you. But at some point, if these apps are not integrated to one ecosystem or the same process, and this process that is your marketing, it's also not communicating with your sales, with your financial planning, with the overall goals of your business, it's going to be a mess. You will have just like a list of spending every month in all these apps. That one helps you with the email marketing, the other is a CRM, the other one is for something totally different. But those apps are not communicating each other. They're not following the same goals and they're not working alone. They need you to set up everything every week, sometimes every day. And at the end, you probably won't understand the data that they bring you there. Because it's just a different mess. It's just every app working in a different direction. So to keep this thing away for giving you a bad impact in your business, what we do is a integration audit. That's like, let's say, is our first approach to work together. What I do with my clients is first, we have at least 2 meetings only to know each other. I need to know what my client feels about his business or their business. I want to know what is the business about, right? I need to understand the business first. And then we do, as is this digital marketing, we do an integration audit. I want to know what are you using in your company to make your marketing work? And then I want to know if there are gaps between every app or tool that you're using to see how we can put everything in one line to work in the same direction. Also, I tell them or I provide information to them if there is some unnecessary tools that you're paying for every month. Because sometimes, and I'm going to give you an example that I have at a conversation with a new client recently. These people has a company that they do B2B, and they were planning to acquire a new CRM, and it was an expensive one. because they thought that they needed. But you
Mm-hmm.
need a CRM if you're dealing with long list of clients, but they don't need to close 100 deals a month. They need to close
Mm-hmm.
3 deals a
Mm-hmm.
month. So they don't need a CRM. And after that conversation, it's like I'm killing my deal myself, right? Because they were hiring me
Mm-hmm.
to set the CRM. But for me, it's better that they understand what they need and being honest about it. That giving them something that they don't need, and they're gonna get tired of spending so much money in that and me together for something that is not giving results.
Yeah.
So this is just an example of how an integration audit can change how the things are going with your marketing in your company, because maybe you're getting tired and you're spending money in something that you don't need or your business doesn't need.
Yeah, I love that. When you think about being a small business owner, you have so many advantages over enterprise. We know that you're agile, you're more resilient, and you can go higher velocity. But there's one thing that SMBs can't do that enterprise can do, and that is you can't delegate. It's very difficult to delegate tasks or delegate responsibilities, excuse me. So you can delegate a certain task, go do the newsletter for me. But the overall responsibility was more difficult to delegate because there's no integration of the systems, including the technology, but also there's really no strategy often.
Yeah.
And if there is, it's sort of like a combination of whimsical and formula in that process. And that's what I spend a lot of time with clients early on, of just sort of helping them unlearn like bad habits related to the messaging and strategy, category design, audience definitions, things like that. But you think about this, you do all this thing, you have all this ability to be agile and flexible and then at enterprise, but because you don't have the integration, then you take away all the other advantages. Because if those things are integrated, you would still be able to go fast. And we've seen this, like with the clients we worked with together, the velocity of the speed at which we can go, because there's integration of the strategy and the systems and the tactics. It's pretty amazing. The other aspect of this too goes back to ethics and values, as you talked about. And it's admirable, definitely admirable, that you would say, no, you don't really need that, even though they could have paid you to implement it.
Exactly.
It's also how you use your marketing tools as a business owner is determined by your overall ethics anyway. So meaning these can be tools of manipulation, they can be tools of interruption, they can be tools of gaslighting. The same tools can be used as tools of inspiration and invitation and storytelling and all the beautiful things. And then the last little thing that came up for me as you were talking about that is it's happens a lot in big companies, but it's especially expensive in little companies when they like overspend and under execute.
Yeah.
So they'll buy Salesforce or HubSpot or something. And those are fine platforms, but like you said, if you're a B2B company and you're trying to get 3 good deals in a month, you don't need HubSpot.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. You don't need to spend that
yeah,
money. Well,
you don't need to
you need
spend
to
that
put your
money.
effort. You need to put your effort and your money in something that actually is going to work for you. That's why you
Right.
need to, you need to find a way that every solution that you bring to your company, it's actually shaped to your company.
That's right.
That's how
And to your
we
brand
work.
strategy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's
Exactly.
that fit for
Exactly.
purpose. Right.
And if you don't have one, you have to know that you have to create it.
Right. And so you end up with, even if you're not spending a lot of money, and let's say you've got MailChimp, I guarantee it, if you have MailChimp and you don't have someone like you, if the person doesn't have someone like you, Javi, that they're using 20% of what MailChimp could do for them
Yeah.
because they don't know how to integrate it with the strategy. It's not even just a tactical thing. They don't even know how to do that. And this is all about like a different kind of efficiency. And yeah, so I think it would be fun to break down, let's just with the time that we have, let's break down like a week in the life of with one of our clients, and let's use Massimo. And we'll link to Massimo's stuff in the show notes. For context, Massimo Bacchus is a executive coach and leadership development guy in Seattle. Awesome dude. Has a book called Human First, Leader Second, and is building a category with my help and Javi's help around a self-actualizing enterprise. So this is something we both believe in, this idea of self-compassion and teaching people. And that if he was just another executive coach, and he could be a nice person, but same shit, different day.
Yeah.
It would feel different to do the marketing for him. So,
exactly.
Right. So that's a key point for both of us. It's like, and I think that's important, that if you're values driven as a business owner, you need values driven people on your team that you can be simpatico with. So I think it's also, so as we set it up, is like the system. Let's start with the strategy side. So let's go strategy, systems, and then like tactical execution. And that kind of gives a full picture here. So our strategy is to build a category of the self-actualizing enterprise. It is to promote the message that self-compassion is a leadership epiphany. And he's got a simple business model. He's an executive coach and does leadership development programs and facilitation. He's also a keynote speaker. So not unique in the actual business model. Did I forget anything on the strategy side with him?
That's it. Yeah, that's his strategy. Yeah.
So talk about the systems that then you and I helped create, both the tech, but also the schematic structure a little bit, so that we're working in concert with him.
Well, what I love of working with you is that you do the strategy, right? For the market that because I'm bilingual and I know Latin American market, and United States is a newish market for me. So in marketing, it's very important to have the cultural knowledge and sensitivity to create strong messages, as you do, and the strategies that you create. So after you create with Massimo all the product construction, the buildness, and that part, what my team does is process this strategy. It's not just that you give me a list of tasks.
That's right.
Read the strategy. I met Massimo. I talked with him. He knows me. I know him. And we find common point, I'll say, where we can share values and understand the message of each other. So after we understand Massimo's message, we start building content around it. It's not, as we have told many times, it's not a formula to apply to everybody else. Mm-hmm. Is that you have to build a strategy and a system around every person and their business. And it's not only the product that they sell or the service, as you said. Executive coaching is not different to each other. Mm-hmm. The essence of what they provide to the world and their clients. So once we understand the message and we start believing in the service and the process, we start building the content around that. Mm-hmm. Now we know what language we can use, what tone, what is visually attractive to their audience, knowing exactly what they're trying to reach, what is the goal, because it's not always selling. And that's something that people has to understand. It's, yes, we want to sell. We want to see the bottom line with a lot of numbers there. But it's about connecting with their communities first. And if we cannot do that at the beginning, they won't sell anything. So it's about building strong relations with their future clients and their actual clients, the current clients. So it's a big deal because we cannot just put some random standard messages out there. Mm-hmm. We have to try to think like Massimo most of the time.
Yeah. And that is hard to do. And this is why the starting point for me with any client is this, what I call the school of philosophy. Now, the school of philosophy contains a lot of the things that small business owners struggle to articulate. It contains their belief system. It contains their core message and their audience and the conversation they want to start or own. And what's interesting about it is the system the systems that we create, and they're different for each client that we have. in this because there's a different, they're all different and there's no formula. There's just there's some things you got to get right, but there's no specific formula. But there is sort of a red thread here, and that is the systems that we build are primarily used to support the marketing of the philosophy. And then, of course, there's product in there and there's offerings and things, but that requires a client that is willing to go inward to find out what their sort of belief system is and then express it as a brand. But it's also a kind of patience that you're not going to promote your way to deals. If you're a B2B or professional services company, you're going to promote your way to building a philosophy, which then is building a following, and then there's a kind of a conversion that goes along with that. And that's why this wouldn't work if this model, this virtual marketing team combined with what I do, doesn't work when you don't have patience and you don't have the courage to be different, but you don't really have anything to say, because it goes very quickly into that assembly line feeling of putting content out there. So I'm curious, if someone's following Massimo or Massive or some of our other clients that we work on together, visual evidence of what you do is seen in their social media feed or in their newsletters or things like that. And I'm curious about your process for taking what I send you related to, okay, here's the thought leadership plan for the month, and tapping into that creative part of you that makes you unique as in what you do. How do you go about, let's use Massive, my company with Virginia, and this week that this is going to be, that we're recording this, we're promoting on the Massive social feeds the idea of like the kind of business leader that would be involved in our new resistance roundtables, Entrepreneurs Against Trump initiative. How do you go about taking what I send you, which is just words sometimes, and turning it into art and captions? And how do you do that?
It helps a lot that I know both of you. And that's why I like to talk a lot with my clients, because I need to know what they are thinking. It's not just that you send me, hey, I'm selling this case of earphones, right? So obviously I go through, I read it 3 times just to be sure that I understanding everything there. But I'm also making a research around that. Like, what is other people thinking about this? Because it's not only what you want to communicate, because communication it doesn't go just in one way. You have to try to understand what the receptor is going to understand about this. So I just dive deep into this, like I'm trying to get the most involved possible in the topic before starting to creating the content. And then it comes all the creativity. I sit with my team and we bring ideas up. In my team, there is Jose Raul, who is a graphic designer and our creativity director. He brings some visual resources to the table. And I'm more like trying to find the right feelings that we want to evoke with our content. And then we have Gloricela, that is our person in community management. And so she brings the trends, right? Like, this is happening in social media right now. Let's try to fit everything in one place. Our way of working is not following all trends out there. It's what we do. Right. So, but we need to be aware of what is going on out there to see if what we want to communicate fit with the trends that are out there. So it's a process that it takes time, as you say, patience, because I have to learn, I have to feel comfortable creating content that I know is gonna communicate what you want to put in your message, but also being receptive for the people that we want to approach out there.
And I think this is another key, it's a differentiator for us, but it's also like, it's got to be a huge relief for our clients too, is we design this for them so they can delegate it. That's what I said earlier. It's like, if your systems aren't integrated, if you don't know what your message is, you're just playing whack-a-mole, with marketing. Marketing becomes a problem more than anything. And I'll bet you, like, because we nail down so much information about the brand. Once we do that process, I think probably Massimo spends maybe an hour a week on marketing, and he used to spend a way more, which is billable time. He didn't really like it, you know.
Yeah. He was
And that's
very
true.
clear about it.
Yeah, very clear about that. And most of our clients are like that. They don't really like
It's
marketing,
okay. That's
and
okay.
that's
Yeah.
great. But the tools that we're creating to do that, for example, would be like the brand voice guide. And so that we're trying to speak as him. I do a lot of like thought leadership theming. Like, so this is
Mm-hmm.
and it's all tied to like promoting the philosophy or the
Yeah.
category. And so it's like this month we're focused on this taxonomy and structure to it. And that's all designed also to make it so that the marketplace is getting consistency in how something's being expressed, but it doesn't feel too overly packaged or formulaic.
Yeah.
And that's why I say there's three things you can't delegate. You can't delegate a moral clarity, if you can't delegate courage. Like if you don't, or if you don't have the courage to be different, if you're a client, I can't help you. You can't help them have, can push them.
Exactly.
And you can't delegate the being the soul of the brand. Is like we're not going to go back to a client and say, here's a trend, you should write about this. That we may say, here's something to be aware of, but there's a trend that we don't respond to trends. Is one of my mantras is make the world react to you. Well, which you?
Exactly.
That's the core you that's got a soul and got shit to say and wants to disrupt some things. And then you don't sit around going, I don't know what to write about. I don't know what to talk about. Once you tap into that, you want to pay attention to trends, but you can't delegate your soul to whomever. And anyway, so it's also interesting too, is there's and you and I are very much like this, is kind of a surgical fit for purpose, like to the actual tools. Like, this should be video this time because it's more, okay, if it's going to be video, how do we want to do it? And I love what we've done with what we call the pickleball videos with Massimo.
Yeah.
His videos are shot of him at his pickleball court that he has at his house. They're not in a studio and all polished and everything. He's very professional, but he's not a bot.
There is not script behind that.
Yes.
It's just him, pure him.
Yes.
And then we work on that.
Yes. And then we it's like get him in the studio. We clean it up a little bit so it's, people can hear it. Or the way that you did the book signing videos for him was another great example of this. And we also don't force our clients to do things they don't want to do. Like if you don't want to post on Instagram for whatever reason, fine, we don't have to do that, or if you don't want to do videos at all, like if you just hate it, we'll come up with a different way. That's okay. These are things that are, again, that agnostic sort of fit for purpose. That is, at the end of the day, we just want what will get you what you want, to the client. And again, it's all kind of nerdy, and we could probably talk about it for hours. But
yeah,
I have one final question for you. Like if somebody's a small business owner and they're listening, watching this, and we'll both answer this, is what is one piece of advice they hear about marketing that they should ignore? You go first.
there are always out there the marketing gurus, right? That you have to advertise everything, go full advertising, advertise everything. But if you don't really know what is your soul, as you say, how your soul look or should look out there, if you're not putting your true self in your brand, and you just want to spend more money in this and then feel frustrated at the end of a campaign, just do it. Just follow the marketing guru advices. But in my opinion, you have to go through like it's like you have to meditate about yourself, your inner self, and bring it on the table, and then work on that first and stamp it on your brand and stamp it in your strategy. That's my advice.
It's so similar to mine. And it's basically don't do anything that doesn't feel like you, and listen to that again, you can't outsource your soul. So if something feels off to you, it doesn't matter how many books and blogs and videos are out there that say you should do this. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. And I would hope that our clients that don't feel that way, that we're trying to push them into
You have to
certain
put that.
ways. Maybe they do.
I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
that you.
But it's just, yeah, if it doesn't fit, doesn't feel right, don't do it. Now, there's a difference. If it doesn't feel right in the sense of like, oh, what are people going to say? Or, ooh,
Yeah.
if you start to water it down, that's different. That's not a soul thing. That's your ego that doesn't like to be rejected or wants to fit in or something like that. So this is a soul thing. And what's beautiful about it is that many small business owners, the work that they're doing and the reason they're doing the work, whatever it is because it's something that's part of their calling. It's an extension of their belief system. So your marketing should feel like your soul. You should be able to see your
Like
marketing
yourself.
like you see your team, or your business, and be like, that's me. That's part of me.
Yeah.
It's like looking at your kids, and if it doesn't feel like that,
Yeah.
don't do it.
It's a little too about stop comparing yourself with your competitors, because you want to run the same career, the same run, like you want to be next to them. But you are not them, right? You have something different to offer and you have to explode that part. So
Exactly.
it will bring you anxiety. That's the truth.
That's
You
right.
have to
Exactly.
stop doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and imposter syndrome, or trying
Yeah.
to use marketing and branding to solve a identity crisis. That's also a terrible idea. Like,
Yeah.
you got to get your inner shit together first before you start going out into the world and trying to promote who you are and what you do. Stuff for another time. So I'll link to Motion Rocket's website on there. People
Thank you.
that are watching this, they can go look at book a call with Javi to just talk, like you said, like you have a filter like I do. And then, but also the integration audit is a priceless, like if that's all you ever did is get a fresh look at the way your systems work together, that's priceless by itself. And I'll see you in a non-recorded environment very soon. So thank you for doing this with me.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you for bringing me here.
You're welcome.